There is a door in the north wing of Jete Castle. A door that has not opened in 400 years. Behind it, they say, lies the room where a woman became a monster. But monsters are rarely born in locked rooms. They are forged long before the door is sealed. Forged in childhood, in silence, in power, and in the stories told by men who fear a woman who does not bow. Tonight, we return to the beginning. To a girl who grew up in a world of storms and inheritance. To a woman whose name would become a curse. To Elizabeth Báthory. Not the vampire they invented, but the tragedy they tried to bury alive. She was born during a thunderstorm in a fortress overlooking fields that belonged to her family for generations. The Bathorys were one of the most powerful noble houses in Eastern Europe. Warriors, politicians, landowners, feared and respected in equal measure. Erzsébet was not raised like a child, but like an heir. Not a daughter, but a weapon. She learned early that the world divided people into two kinds: those who command and those who kneel. Her tutors taught her Latin before she was 6. She read law, geometry, herbal medicine. She watched executions from the castle balcony because that was how nobles learned the cost of power. But the true education happened at home. Her mother taught her silence. Her father taught her pride. Her aunt, whispered to be a practitioner of forbidden arts, taught her what men fear most: a woman who cannot be controlled. And yet, beneath the fierce discipline, there was a sensitive child. A girl who woke from nightmares, who felt storms before they formed. Who confessed secretly to her nursemaid that sometimes she wished she had been born into a quieter life. But quiet lives were not offered to Bathory women. Only crowns, daggers, and expectations. At 15, Erzsébet was married to Ferenc Nadasdy, a rising military star from another powerful family. She did not choose him. Power chose for her. Their wedding lasted days. Dances, feasts, processions. But Erzsébet walked through it, like someone descending into a life she had not chosen. Ferenc was often away at war. Erzsébet managed the estates alone. Something unheard of for a woman of her age. And she excelled. Under her rule, crops flourished, taxes stabilized, and villagers said, "Lady Bathory is strict, but fair." But fairness in a woman is not always admired. Especially when she governs better than the men who think they should rule. Ferenc encouraged cruelty in his soldiers. And because Erzsébet was seen at his side, the rumors began. She is too comfortable with blood. She does not fear death. She asks too many questions when bodies are brought home from war. None of it was true. But truth has never been stronger than gossip, especially when whispered by men who resent a woman's authority. Ferenc died young. And with his death, Erzsébet became one of the wealthiest widows in Europe. A woman with money, land, education, and no husband to control her. For powerful men, there is nothing more dangerous. Hungary was drowning in debt. The crown owed fortunes to the Bathory family. If Erzsébet fell, the king inherited everything. And so the stories began to shift. Her strictness became cruelty. Her discipline became sadism. Her aloofness became monstrosity. She beats her servants. She tortures young girls. She bathes in blood to preserve her youth. None of these claims existed during her husband's life. Not one official complaint. Not one documented accusation. Not one witness stepping forward. Everything appeared only after Ferenc's death, when Erzsébet became a political obstacle. And notice this. The allegations were not about power, land, money, or rebellion. They were about female vanity, female cruelty, female appetite. They turned her into a vampire. Because nothing frightens patriarchs more than a woman who refuses to decay, refuses to lose beauty, refuses to shrink herself. If a man desires youth, he is ambitious. If a woman desires it, she becomes a monster. Men wrote the myth. And they wrote themselves as heroes. On a winter night in 1610, armed men stormed Chate Castle. Erzsébet was not charged, not tried, not allowed counsel. She was simply declared guilty. Her servants were tortured until they confessed to anything. Anything. Anything at all. One servant had her fingers crushed until she admitted that Erzsébet bathed in blood. Another confessed, under fire torture, that Erzsébet drank the blood of virgins. Historians agree every confession was extracted through brutality. But the myth was already written. Erzsébet was dragged through the halls of her own home. The place she had governed, guarded, and grown within, and thrown into a small room. They bricked up the door, left a tiny slit for food, and sealed the monster inside. Not a trial. Not a sentence. An erasure. The real crime was not cruelty. It was being a woman too powerful to control. Erzsébet lived for 4 years in that tomb of stone and silence. No visitors. Only the weight of a legend she never wrote. After her death, the stories grew. Some said she murdered 600 girls. Others said 300. Others said 50. No records. No bodies. No documents. Only stories told by men who inherited her land. It is the oldest magic trick in history. When a woman accumulates too much power, they create a monster to justify destroying her. Destroy the woman. Keep the land. Keep the wealth. Keep the story. And so the myth of the Blood Countess was born. Not from evidence, but from the fertile imagination of a world terrified of women who do not obey. Centuries later, she became a vampire icon. Books, films, horror tales, all feeding on a woman who could no longer speak for herself. They called her a monster, and they made her immortal. Monsters, after all, are easier to understand than complex, powerful women. Remember the door? The one in the north wing that has not opened in 400 years? It wasn't just a prison, it was a mirror. A mirror reflecting the way society seals away women who do not fit the mold. The witch, the seductress, the rebel, the widow, the scholar, the woman whose power cannot be owned. They sealed that door because Elizabeth Báthory was never the monster. She was the warning. A warning to other women. Do not rise too high. Do not rule too strongly. Do not inherit too much. Do not be feared. But doors do not hold forever. And stories, once rewritten, can be reclaimed. Tonight, in listening to her story, you opened that sealed door. Not to find a vampire, but a woman. Brilliant, flawed, powerful, inconvenient. A woman whose life was stolen and replaced with myth. Erzsébet Báthory does not need our forgiveness. She needs our clarity. Because the real horror was never her, it was the world that feared what she represented. A woman who refused to kneel. A woman who wielded power as her birthright. A woman they had to kill twice, her body and then her name, to feel safe again. But legends have a way of surviving, especially legends born of fear. And in the echo of that sealed room, one truth remains. She was never the monster. She was the threat,